Hello, Namaskar and Adab to all my friends from your friend astrologer and guide Irfan, once more with you from your very own channel, Astro Assurance. When we look at career, when we look at work, when we look at what is the profession that we want to do or what we will be doing, what we will be indulging in for a livelihood, for the remuneration, for what is the earning that we bring in, one of the key elements that we look at is the placement of the 10th house and the dignity and the placement of the 10th house lord. And many times we not only look at the 10th house and the 10th house lord, which houses it goes in the D1 chart, which dignity it goes in, what conjunction it goes in, and from that we try to look at and bring forth what are the most appropriate industries you need to get in, what is the work you need to get in, whether you need to do business, whether you need to do service or work under somebody. We look at all of that. We also try to check the placement of the same house lord in the D9 chart, its dignity, its conjunction, and then we try to validate the results also from the D10 or the Dashamsa chart. So this is how the standard procedure is, and that's how it should be done. However, one important point many times we miss is that how is the placement of Saturn in our horoscopes. Why Saturn is very important? Because of two reasons. Number one, Saturn is the natural ruler of the 10th house in the Kal Purush Kundli by virtue of it ruling the Capricorn sign. So Saturn directly or indirectly defines our karma, defines our work. The other is Saturn is also the planet which represents the labor force. Saturn is the planet which represents organization, structure, discipline, your ability to follow rules and regulations, conventions, and karma. It's a karmic equalizer. It denotes the relationship with the supervisors, with authority figures, and also it also denotes how or what is our focus at work, how patient we can be at work, how focused can we be and patiently work for long hours in an organized, structured, disciplined format. So Saturn becomes very important because it is the Karaka of work. It is related to our karma, and Saturn also rules the 10th house in the Kal Purush Kundli. So in any ascendant, whichever ascendant you are, Saturn's placement, Saturn's dignity, and if Saturn is making a relationship either with the 10th house or with the 10th lord, becomes very, very important. So if, for example, if you look at the planets which have a shorter dasha period, for example, Sun or Mars or Moon or Ketu, if you look at these planets, they have very short duration of dasha. All of them have a dasha of less than 10 years. So here, if any of these are our dasha lords as well as the 10th lord, will the work finish when the dasha is over? Because even the antar dashas of these planets is not a long period. So how can we then look at, if the dasha period itself of the 10th lord is very short, then how do we know where our career will work, whether the career will have stability, whether we will be doing well, whether we will enjoy the acknowledgement, appreciation, support of our supervisors, of the powers that be or not. For that, we need to look at Saturn. Even if the 10th lord has a long duration of dasha, for example, the 10th lord is either Jupiter, or the 10th lord is Saturn itself, or 10th lord is Venus or Mercury, these dashas are very long. Each one of them is more than 16 years and up to 20 years, which Venus has. So here the dasha may come when we are born or in a growing year. Sometimes the dasha may never come because the dasha may hit us only after 70 years, 80 years or 90 years. So we may not even approach the dasha of the 10th lord. So how do we see if the dasha is not coming? Will the 10th lord not be activated? Will a career not be activated? It will be activated by virtue of the transits of the 10th lord, the antardashas of the 10th lord, even if the mahadasha of the 10th lord is coming later or if it's over when we were born. But what will truly define the nature of a job or longevity in the job, stability in the job, or whether we will be gaining more out of a job or we will continuously change our job, whether we will enjoy the growth in the job, whether we will enjoy the patronage of our supervisors, all of this will have to be seen from Saturn. Secondly, what if the 10th lord is combusted, debilitated, then what happens? We may still see where it is placed, how it is placed, but we may not know exactly what results can be seen. in that situation, Saturn takes over your career. Saturn then becomes the denoter. Obviously, apart from the other strongest planets which are there in the horoscope, they may also point towards, they may also show where our money may be coming from, where our earning may be coming from. They may also point towards a direction where the work may be. However, Saturn will still be connected, either the quality of work you do, or what exactly you do, or whether you work with stability, or what your relationship will be, or what the growth will be, or which kind of industries that you will work in. For example, if Saturn is strong in your horoscope, then you may work in more labor intensive industries where labor is required. For example, the building industry, the real estate industry, where a lot of construction workers are required, or the IT industry, the software industry, where again it is people who create programs, people who develop software, people who develop algorithms. Again, it is a labor intensive force. Or in the fields, in the agricultural fields, generally who work in the agricultural fields, some part of the western world you have more mechanized agriculture, but even to run those mechanized infrastructure, tractors or huge machines, you still need human beings to repair them, you need human beings to keep them maintained, you need human beings. So wherever there is a labor intensive workforce, and if you want to work in those industries, you have to check the status of Saturn, the dignity of Saturn. If Saturn is very combusted, Saturn is debilitated, Saturn is not in a good yoga, it's in a bad dosha, it is in this it's in a bad conjunction, it's under bad aspects, then you will find, irrespective of how your 10th lord is placed, what exaltation it is placed in, what yogas it is placed in, Saturn will still bring its ups and downs. If it doesn't bring its ups and downs in terms of the money, then in terms of stability it will bring its ups and downs. In terms of competition that you face at work, it will bring its ups and downs. In terms of nature of work that you do, it will bring in ups and downs. Or if Saturn is not strong, then you may not be able to do very well in high labor intensive industries. You may be able to do in those industries which are not so labor intensive, or in a labor intensive industry, if you are working in an organization, then you may not enjoy the growth which you expect. So Saturn's placement, Saturn's dignity, Saturn's relationship with the 10th house lord or the 10th house in some way or the other is important. And so let's jump in and see how, with few examples where Saturn is not the 10th lord but is strongly influencing how your career may manifest, how it may be turning out, and whether you may have stability, or what industries in fact it is pointing towards rather than the industry represented by the 10th lord itself. Now let's take the example of a Gemini ascendant native where Jupiter is the 10th lord. Now while Jupiter is the 10th lord, Jupiter is also the 7th lord. So here the person may have a chance of working in a partnership or in a team working environment, but because Jupiter rules the 10th house as well as the 7th house and placed in the 4th house, so here a lot of work can be either connected to teaching or even higher teaching or higher level of advising, counseling, consulting kind of work. And because Jupiter is placed in the 4th house, this also can bring in an element of the real estate industry, housing industry, and even construction work. However, Mars is the Karaka of construction and real estate. So if, for example, Mars gets debilitated in somebody's horoscope, then what may happen is that Jupiter may not give you the results or strong results or good results in the real estate industry. So here the person, in spite of joining the real estate industry, may not find that they are doing very well. If they do well in the real estate industry, then it may be thanks more to the placement of Saturn in the horoscope rather than placement of Jupiter. So if Saturn is in fall, if Saturn is in the Aries sign in the 11th house, then the person may not be able to gain much from a real estate industry, because Mars is also debilitated and Saturn is also getting into its debilitation sign of Aries. So Jupiter, except for teaching or guiding or consulting, maybe in a banking role, because here it is placed in Virgo. Virgo has the 6th house energies of hospitality, of service, giving out loans, debts. So Jupiter may be an advisor or consultant either in sports, which is also 6th house represents by virtue of 6th house being the house of competition, Jupiter being the Karaka of all the fun thing, adventure things. So this can also be sport related or teaching related or advising or counseling or guiding in a mortgage industry, home loans industry, and or even the banking industry. However, the person may not be able to do a lot of good work, a lot of gains in the real estate industry, especially if Mars is debilitated and if Saturn was also debilitated. However, if Saturn is in the Lagna, as we can see here in this particular case, so here the person can be a guide, but because Saturn is the ruler of the 8th house and the 9th house, so the person can still teach or guide as a combined energy of Jupiter and Saturn, because Jupiter rules the 9th house of guiding, teaching, advising. But here because Saturn rules the 8th house, so here the person can guide or consult more in the banking industry or in insurance or in taxation, where other people's money is concerned, rather than a specific industry. So here the industry can be more related to banking, IT, insurance, or even manufacturing, because the 8th house is also related to manufacturing, and Saturn is about manufacturing because manufacturing is a labor intensive industry. So the person can be a teacher because Jupiter is the karaka of education and placed in the 4th house, which also denotes higher education. Saturn, the 9th lord, has gone into the sign of Gemini. Gemini is the sign of communication, teaching, guiding, influencing, advising. But the influencing and advising may be more in the matters of the 8th house. The person can even be a teacher related to research or related to those subjects which are related to the virtual industries. Like for example, somebody is teaching about banking, about insurance, or somebody is a team leader in the IT industry, or somebody is a team leader in the banking industry, or the manufacturing industry, or even a labor union person, or being on the board of directors of a big industry. And then Saturn will bring in more stability to the person in spite of 10th lord going into its enemical sign of Virgo. But because Saturn is placed strong, being the ruler of the 9th house through its Multikona sign, and Saturn being the Karaka of the 8th house, and then placed in the Lagna, which means Saturn will be the guiding force. Saturn will bring in stability, discipline, and also create the variety in the person's job. So while Jupiter may be leading, connected to teaching, advising, or Virgo related industries, even for example in medicine, in loans, in coaching centers, in competitive exams, or running coaching centers to sit in competitive exams, Saturn on the other hand, because of ruling the 8th and the 9th house, so it could give you jobs related to banking or connected to other people's money, taxation, wealth management, insurance, which is related to the 9th house of guiding, or with communication with the Gemini sign energy represents. Let's take another example. Now in this example, this is a person who is a Leo ascendant native, where Sun is the ruler of the Lagna. But the 10th lord here is Venus, and Venus is placed in its own sign in the Libra sign in the 3rd house. However, Saturn here is an exaltation along with Venus. So Saturn here is stronger than Venus in the Libra sign. If Venus is very strong in good dignity, in good degrees, then Venus could guide the person towards a certain profession. So here finance, banking industries, or IT industries, or electronics, or the glamour industries, all these industries can come into the being, but the person can also do business in a partnership through a self-enterprise and can earn money. However, if Venus is not placed here, but if Venus, say for example, went into the 2nd house in Virgo, then Saturn will completely take over. If Venus and Saturn are in conjunction in Libra, Venus will play the main role being the 10th lord, but Saturn will give stability, Saturn will give you high growth, Saturn will give you good results over a period of time. Saturn will help you also to be able to influence your bosses, and the growth will be fantastic, will be very high. And the person will be given a lot of people working under him, because Saturn rules the 6th house of people working under you, the labor force. And Saturn also rules the 7th house of working with people, working in a team. So Saturn plays with the 10th house lord. 10th house is also about authority figures, bosses. So here Saturn makes you a good boss, gives you growth in boss, and gives you patience, perseverance, and helps you grow through the industry without any hiccups. But if Venus was debilitated, if it had gone into Virgo sign, then Saturn would completely take over. And then Saturn related industries such as labor intensive industries such as IT, manufacturing, spare parts of the electronic industry rather than making electronics. So Venus rules the 10th house placed in the Libra sign, in strong Multikona sign and strong, then the person can end up even manufacturing completed IT products, But if Venus is debilitated, or Venus goes into, say for example, the Aries sign, or even in the Scorpio sign in the 4th house, and becomes weak, and Saturn is strong and in exaltation in the Libra sign, then the person, rather than manufacturing completed electronic goods, would probably work in an industry where they are making spare parts of electronics rather than completed electronic parts. However, Saturn will still give you stability, Saturn will still give you results over a period of time. Let's see one more example. Say for example, you have a Cancer ascendant and Moon is placed in the Sagittarius sign, which is the sign of service. However, the 10th Lord Mars is in the 8th house of obstacles, of challenges, of issues, but it is under the aspect of Jupiter. So here, Mars being the 10th Lord and being placed in the 8th house, so here it's a strong relation to manufacturing. However, because it is in the 8th house, the work will not be free flowing, the person will not be getting good results, may not be getting gains in his organization. He or she may work in a large organization but may not get regular fruits of their labor and fight to grow in the organization. This can also be more research related or medicine related or manufacturing related. This person can also be a surgeon, can also be an undercover investigator, say for example for money, something which is related to policing people and finding out facts or digging in deep and extracting facts. However, the 8th Lord Saturn goes into the 10th house here. So while Saturn is debilitated, it is under the 9th aspect of Jupiter. And even if it was not under the 9th aspect of Jupiter, Saturn in the 10th house in any sign would still be strong, will still retain its strength even in debilitation. So here Saturn becomes a strong karaka of bringing in stability and also influencing work. So here the person, rather than going into a manufacturing industry, the other option for the person as a job change or even starting off his or her career could be related to Saturn related industry. So the person could go into banking, could go into administration, could be go into engineering. Why? Because Saturn is placed in the Aries sign ruled by Mars, and Mars is exchanging signs with Saturn. So this is a sign exchange between Mars and Saturn. So this is also strong denotation of being an engineer. And this person can then go into labor intensive industries, and Saturn could give you stability connected to labor. But Saturn can also give you connected to teaching or guiding. Why teaching or guiding? Because Jupiter aspects Saturn, and Jupiter rules the 9th house of teaching and guiding and advising, and the Lagna Lord Moon has gone into the Mool Trikona sign of Jupiter in Sagittarius, and Jupiter also aspects Moon in the 6th house. So the teaching part, the advising part, the consulting part may take over. So the person in the end may become a guru or a expert in the manufacturing industries, in the medicine related industries, and may end up becoming a guru and end up creating workforce, training workforce, so that they are able to do their job as undercover investigators, as surgeons. As we know that a number of doctors teach during the day in a medical college, and in the evening they do their practice also. So this could be a person whose career is still influenced by Saturn, getting it connected to Saturn related labor intensive workforce, engineering, administration, banking, or even related to construction industry. Why construction industry? Because Saturn aspects the 4th house. Mars is the karaka of the real estate industry. Jupiter aspects Mars and is aspected by Mars back, and Jupiter also aspects Saturn. And the Lagna Lord Moon is in the placement in the 6th house of service, working with labor, and in the Mool Trikona sign of Jupiter. So friends, now that we have seen how Saturn can impact the quality of your work, the nature of your work, whether you have stability in your work, whether you are getting the appreciation, the acknowledgement of your bosses or not, what are the relations that you have with your bosses, will you have a work which will give you a long stint in your work, or there may be frequent change in the job, frequent changes in the industries, frequent changes in what career you take, or change from working under somebody to working in business. All these manifestations Saturn may also bring in by virtue of how strong it is placed, what dignity it is placed, what kind of relationship it is establishing with the 10th house lord or with the 10th house itself, whether through aspects or through conjunctions or placed in each other's signs or placed in the nakshatras of each other. But some influence Saturn, if it is having over the 10th house lord or the 10th house, it will have a very strong influence on your career. If not, if the 10th house lord is not very strong, not placed in very strong dignity, then Saturn will still play a strong role in your career in terms of whether you have stability, whether you have the appreciation of your bosses or the loyalty of your workforce, whether you have a regular livelihood, whether you have a regular remuneration, or you will change your careers every now and then, whether there will be challenges, issues, obstacles, problems in your work, whether you have to change your industry every now and then, and whether you will have long-term stability, long-term growth in the same industry or not. So friends, see how your 10th house is placed, whether it is in good dignity, where your 10th lord is placed, how strong your Saturn is placed, because the more stronger Saturn is placed, more quality of work it will be giving you, more stronger relations it will give you with your supervisors, and more stability at work it will be able to give you. So friends, like this video, share this video, and if you're looking for a personal consultation from me, please reach out to me at the links given below. Until some other time with some other video, this is your friend astrologer and guide Irfan signing off.